Hey everybody, if I can stay awake today, I'm going to be talking about classics in response to Book Rat Misty's latest book chat. So, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with classic books. I think people tend to have this stigma against them. Misty talked about this a little bit in her video too. A lot of people I know, okay, I'm just gonna be straight. Most of my friends and close family are not really into reading that much, but some of them are. No one really that I'm close with other than myself likes to read classics. And I think I know why this is, and Misty also mentioned it. There is this stigma against classics because they are usually the books that you are assigned to read in school. So people have this preconceived mindset that they're going to be boring because they're educational, and they think of all the work. Like, I remember it too. I had these feelings as well, like having to analyze and pay close scrutiny to every sentence, and what is the deeper meaning behind this, and write papers and take tests and all that kind of stuff that could possibly sap the fun out of reading. And so, yeah, I am the only one out of my, and not the only one I know, but of my close friends and family who likes to read classics at all. And even with myself, I have a very limited range of classics that I like. I tend to read only 19th century British lit, and that is about it. There's with a few exceptions. Any classics newer than that, like 20th century, things like that, I really only actually got into because of school, so it actually had the opposite effect with me than with some other people. Like, for example, I love The Catcher in the Rye, probably because I read it when I was a very depressed teenager, so I could understand all of the, Holden Caulfield's weird mental processes, while the rest of my class was like, this guy's so weird, is he schizo? I was like, yeah, this makes sense. Yeah, I can really relate to this. Yeah. Mostly my favorites fall between 1800 and 1900. A couple exceptions of favorite books are Evelina by Fanny Burney. That's actually a late 1700s. I don't remember, 1770 something, I believe. I only got into her because Jane Austen was a fan of hers, and so I bought all of her 4 novels, and I only liked one, the first one, Evelina. The rest are way too long and melodramatic, and I much prefer Jane Austen herself. Other Austen-like authors that I tried reading Maria Edgeworth, who is an Irish contemporary of Austen's, I think a little bit before her as well. I don't remember the years. That was a failure. Those books I found really boring, and I could not get into them. Later books past 1900 that I did like is A Room with a View by E.M. Forster, but that is the only E.M. Forster book I've read because it's a happy, cheerful, coming-of-age romantic story, and these other ones just sound like downers to me. I tend to actively avoid books that I know will be depressing. Sorry about that. Also, for children's literature, I do like Anne of Green Gables by Ellen Montgomery. That was Canadian and written after 1900. I only read that recently. And I like Frances Hodgson Burnett, Little Princess, and especially The Secret Garden. The Secret Garden is my favorite. But yeah, mostly it's within the 1800s somewhere. My absolute favorite, as you probably know, is Jane Austen. I love all of her books so much, and especially I love to watch adaptations of her books, even bad ones. I need to collect them all. My next favorite, even though this is bad to categorize this as one, as the Bronte sisters, I love all of them, even though for Charlotte Bronte I only like Jane Eyre, but I love Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte because that's just a book with such twisted, wacky characters. It's really interesting to read, even though I hate pretty much everyone in it. And I love both of Anne Bronte's works, and I really wish I could have read more from Anne and Emily. I like Charlotte too, but only 1 out of 4 books is not a great track record for me. But yeah, so as a whole, I love them as well. Next favorite would probably be Wilkie Collins, and he wrote, I guess, sensational or sensationalist literature, kind of, and some detective-esque novels. He was kind of a precursor to Sherlock Holmes. Love his books, especially the later ones. What I really like about him is he goes against the norm with his female characters, where they really don't fall into the stereotype of female characters of the time. I feel like he's a very feminist author in many ways. And speaking of him, I also love the whole Sherlock Holmes series as well. Sherlock Holmes is amazing, and he's another one that I collect all of the various adaptations of. Ugh, I was just interrupted by this lady talking on her cell phone really loud in the hallway. It's like, go in your apartment, please, and shut the door. Thank you. And probably last on my list is, or somewhat ranked, not really, is Elizabeth Gaskell. She was a contemporary of Dickens and Collins in the Victorian era, and I believe Dickens was actually her boss at some point. I haven't really paid attention to this history in a while. But, yeah, I loved, she's the one who did North and South and Wives and Daughters are probably her two best-known works. I also really love Ruth, and I talked about that in my underrated and underknown book chat. But those are my top three from her. Some of her others are, like Mary Barton, her first novel is okay, and I really hate one that she wrote, Sylvia's Lovers. I thought was awful. But she was a really good author as well. Authors that I've tried to get into because they're such big names in literature, and I felt like I had to read them to be like a complete person. I know that sounds completely ridiculous, but Charles Dickens, George Eliot, and Anthony Trollope. I pretty much tried and failed with all of them. I own all of Dickens' novels. I've read 5. That's out of, I think, around 16 or something like that. And the only one that I actually kind of liked was A Tale of Two Cities. Pickwick Papers, some parts were funny, but no. Oliver Twist, no. Little Dorrit, no. Bleak House, I liked half of it, and the other half, no, because I have a similar problem with all of these authors. I can't get into their writing style, especially with Dickens. He was paid by the word, and it really shows in his writing, where, why write one word when like 15 will do? Is like long, flowery, purple prose, way too wordy. I can't get sucked into the story. It pulls me out. I keep being like, oh my god, I have to go through all this drivel to actually get to the heart of the matter. And when you do go through all that drivel and you read the actual stories themselves, I actually love Dickens' stories. Just his way of writing them makes his books really, really hard to get into for me. But I still have the books. I'm going to try to read another one someday, because I own them. But he's another one that I like adaptations of his works better than the books. Same so with George Eliot. I've read 3 of her works, Middlemarch, Daniel Deronda, and Anne and Bede. I actually thought Anne and Bede was alright. The other 2, again, great stories, but her writing, it was like, instead of just focusing on what's happening, she's going off on like philosophical tangents and saying things, and I'm like, I don't care about this. Just be to the point and tell me what is going on. Trollope, I really didn't like any of his characters. I've read 3 or 4 of his books actually, and it was kind of a case of not really caring about the characters or the story, no matter. So he came recommended to me by someone who also hates Eliot and Dickens, but I was expecting to like him, and I really didn't. So I was very disappointed about that. Yeah, so that sums up pretty much how I feel about most/all of the classics I've read. I had this phase a few years ago where I tried to really only read like classic British lit, and it was a hit or miss period for me. And I've got to wrap this video up to let the maintenance guys in a few minutes, so I forgot about that. Crap, I just looked at the time. So hopefully they will be here within a reasonable time they say they're supposed to, and leave quickly because I wanted to do another video today, so I'll hopefully be able to do it later. Bye everybody.